Alright, so I have the suspicion that the squeaky noise was viscous fan clutch, and in another video we kind of looked at the old one and the new one. Distraction to fix this missing bolt over here. So before I put that new one on, what I'm going to do, I put the belt back on. I have not put the viscous clutch back on. It screws on the end of the water pump there. So I'm going to leave it off along with the fan shroud, etc., etc. And we're going to start the truck up and see what happens. Is hopefully there's no squeaking noises that appear a short time after engine startup, which is what was happening before. Of course, it's been sitting for several months, so there's always a possibility it's one of those problems that magically goes away for a while for unknown reasons and then comes back. But if the clutch is not here, it can't be squeaking. So if something does start squeaking, we'll know the root cause wasn't the clutch at all. Alright, that's what I'm going to do, and I'll be right back. Alright, we're going to fire up the truck. Hasn't been started for quite some time. I did put the battery charger on it last week, so hope for the best. So far so good. Let's let it run here, and we'll go out around the other side. I've got a tight garage, and see if any noises suddenly start showing up under here. So far things are good. Don't hear any squeakage. And since the fan is not here, we don't have any wind noises either to obscure anything. Do I hear a squeak? Do I hear a squeak? I think I hear a squeak. I think I kind of hear a squeak. You hear that squeak? Yep, there's a squeak. Oh my goodness. There's definitely a squeak starting. Oh, there it goes. Oh my gosh. Oh. Well, this is very disappointing. Wow. Well, I guess stethoscope time again, and maybe we can figure out where this one's coming from. Well, next weekend is a holiday weekend. I was hoping to use this truck to go on a trip for the weekend, and that looks less likely right now. Because I don't like going out on road trips with things making noises like this that could leave you on the side of the road. Wow, that sounds horrible, doesn't it? Alright, guess I'm gonna end this video for now, and I'm going to break out the stethoscope and see if I can figure out where that's coming from. It's not like I haven't tried in the past, and the problem with noises like this is they just kind of transmit themselves everywhere, and it's hard to tell where they're coming from. You know, sounds kind of transfer through metal objects very well, especially high frequency sounds like this. Alright, well, I'm disappointed, but it is what it is. Alright, so I've been going around with this stethoscope here, and it really seems that it's the water pump there, because if I'm probing like on the ends of the shafts of everything else that I can get on, It doesn't really seem, it's more muted, but not quite as much on that water pump. And I would like to rule out it's the belt. And I have a can of belt dressing spray around here someplace I'm trying to find. Because if it's the belt slipping a hair, if you give it a spritz of that, it should stop, at least momentarily. And I've used that in the past to determine I had a bad belt versus a bad bearing on my Subaru at one point. So I am going to look around a little more, and hopefully I can find that spray can, because I know I had it last fall. Still squeaking. Yeah, so I finally found the can of belt spray here, and I'm just going to give it a little bit of a spook. The radiator's starting to get hot, so I can't leave the engine run too much longer now. We'll see if I give it a spritz on this belt. Yeah, it's not doing anything. So, not doing anything. Let's go on the back side. Not doing anything. Not doing anything. I didn't think it was this. This belt isn't that old. Yeah, it's not making any difference on the belt. So yeah, water pump. I do have a new water pump in the box, and big pain in the butt project to change it, but it looks like that's where we're going to have to go with it. And I need to shut this engine off because it's getting pretty hot now with no fan on it. All right. Well, got the water pump out, and I knew it was going to be a pain to get this water pump out of here, but it actually was a little worse than I was afraid of, mostly because it seems like everything on this engine was assembled after the water pump, and some things can't be removed easily. So in the prior video, you remember about the get the light moved over here better. Let's see that. This bracket that covers up the water pump bolts there, and somebody in their infinite wisdom has made sure that you can't pull that bolt out because it hits the power steering pump pulley. And I'm not about to, I don't know if I have a pulley puller for that anyway. I'm not going to unbolt the power steering pump off its bracket. Just scotch it. Actually, I don't even know if you could do that. Might not be able to even do that. I don't know if the pump comes away from there or not. At any rate, I used some wire here. Wired it out of the way as best I could. And then we got this wiring harness that goes to the crank sensor down there, and I felt around on there. I can't figure out where the release tab is for it, and it'd be nice if I had unplugged that and I would just pull it up out of the way because it's kind of hanging in the stuff. And then we got this pipe here that goes into the water pump, and I think it's for it goes into the heater hose system. Well, in their infinite wisdom, you can't directly pull it up out of the water pump. It won't quite clear because it hits the bottom of the EGR valve up here. You can get it most of the way out, so that when you finally do get all the water pump bolts out, you can kind of jockey it out of there without too much problem. But yeah, when I work on stuff, I really like to just make sure I have a clear and easy path to work on, because I'm going to have to go in here now and clean that gasket up, and it'd be a lot easier without things dangling in the way. But yeah, no, I got the water pump is out, and I don't know, the bearing on it feels a little bit loose. Obviously, I'm pretty sure it's the source of the squeaking noise. I mean, this water pump's got 4,000 miles on it or something. So let's go take a quick look at that old water pump, and just for giggles. So put the old water pump in the bench vise here, and it not a lot of miles on it. I mean, it doesn't feel rough. It wasn't leaking. In my experience, the water pumps usually are. They either start leaking or they make grinding noises and then they leak. And the last water pump I changed on another vehicle, that's what it did. It started making a growling noise, and then shortly thereafter, it started leaking coolant all over the place out of the front bearing here. And so I'm gonna, if you can hear this, can push it in and out a bit. Makes kind of a knocking noise. I mean, you wouldn't expect a problem with this, though. It doesn't really have an obviously bad feel to it. Okay, I can make it rock a little bit there. The other thing I thought about as an aftermarket pump, is there any chance this impeller was rubbing on anything, you know, from a clearance standpoint? I have heard of those kind of problems, and I really don't. It doesn't seem like the impeller's rubbing like on the casting here, and there's no scrub marks on the back side where it might have been hitting the timing cover, which is what forms the other half of the pump cavity. So I don't know, crappy pump, I guess. Yeah. Kind of pushing my bench around quite a bit right now. Alright, we'll take a quick comparison to the, I got a Ford Motorcraft replacement pump, and we'll compare it to that. Alright, this is a replacement Ford Motorcraft pump. I mean, it doesn't look any grossly different. Sometimes aftermarket pumps are obviously different. Is it different? Let me hold this up here. Not real obviously different. The surface finish of the cast here is a little rougher than this one is smooth. The impeller doesn't really look any different, or does it? Is it? That's a little bit different. Yeah. So this one, nope, there's no play in the bearing, like this way or in and out either. So one hopes, after all the trouble that I've had with this engine squeaking problem for quite some time, that if I get this one in here, all my problems will be solved until the next happens. This truck's still going to be 20 years old here in November, I believe. I bought it new, and it's only got just a hair over 80,000 on it right now, and I seldom drive it in the winter, especially this last winter with this squeaky problem. So it's not all rusted out. It was in a wreck a few years ago that I fixed up the front, and then there's a really nasty looking scrape down the side of the box that I did not fix. Parts are unobtainium for some of the body panels on this age of truck, and the odds of finding a whole box aren't good. You would need to go to a southern junkyard to find a non-rusty one, and then it would need repainting, and I didn't get enough insurance money out of the thing to bother with that. I just wanted the truck to work again, so, and the scrape isn't so bad that precludes that. So no, this one's not moving. So that pipe that was causing a problem, that goes in this hole, and there's an O-ring that comes with the pump kit that goes on the pipe, and it looks like whoever was in there on the old one and last time smeared some RTV on there. It's all got RTV smeared in there. Maybe that should be done. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to research that before putting this together. Certainly I'm going to put the new O-ring on there, because I'm kind of suspicious they didn't replace it, but who knows. At any rate, I'm going to have to clean up the mess around here. And one of the problems with these water pumps is one of these bolts is, I think it's the bottom one right here, goes all the way through the timing chain cover and then into the block and then into the water jacket of the block. So you have to put some sealant on it, and I was actually quite afraid that I wouldn't get it out because the sealant might have gooped up in there. Because I took one of these off of a 3.8 in the past, which is a similar design, same thing, and the goop was so bad in there I couldn't pull the bolt out, and it was stuck in the timing chain cover, and it just turned into a small nightmare to get that thing apart because that bolt was stuck in there with all the goo on it. You couldn't pull it through. So this one came right out, and I'm not even sure that the last mechanic that replaced this pump put anything on the threads of that. So I probably need to read about that and find out what they recommend for that, because what I'd seen in the past was like that white Teflon, you know, goo that you often use on, like, you know, copper plumbing things in your house. So, alright, I guess next step on this is try cleaning things up, and then I can look at putting it back together.